Next on the list is Nintendo. Your favorite.
I'm not gonna say my look. I like all consoles. I play everything. I'm not gonna say they're my favorite. Do have a soft spot for them, of course, but I mean they are beating the crap out of everyone. Period. Period. I can drive a few hours from here, Wes. Not even a few hours. It's probably like an hour and a half. I can visit this place called Super Nintendo World.
Mm-hmm.
Visit. It's a real thing that exists. I couldn't even. Can you imagine when I was a child? If that was a thing, I'd be like over the moon. I'd be like, screw Disneyland. What do you guys nuts? This is all I need. So they're doing great there. The Mario movie, off the charts.
That was so good.
Not only was it good, it was a good. I'm not going to say it was great. It was a good movie.
It was good.
Absolutely. It sold like gangbusters, man. They made a ton of money from that movie. Now, when we look at their games, I know people give a lot of crap to Nintendo, like, oh, they just remake them all the time. Let me correct half of you guys. They don't just remake them, they reinvent them constantly. Constantly making improvements and making changes. Go ahead and tell me that Breath of the Wild was like any other Zelda. It's not true. Maybe it had some elements, but it was completely different.
Mm-hmm.
Think about all the times they reinvented Mario. Right? You got your classic 2D, you got
Mm-hmm.
your 3D Mario, you got your 2.5D Mario with like Mario. What was that game called? Oh my god, Super Mario Land. Was it Mario Land? The one that was on the Wii U and then eventually came to Switch.
I
There was
forget.
there was like a weird version of it that was like
Right.
it was like kind of not 2D but also not 3D. It was really weird, but it was awesome. It was like one of my favorite Mario's in a long time. Super Mario 3D World. That's what it's called. There you
Okay.
go. Then they have
You got.
traditional 3D games, 2D games. They have the new 2D games, which are kind of like the traditional 2D games, but they're not. They're new. They're different. You know.
You know, I got to give it to Nintendo because they're not afraid to experiment. Like you said, they constantly reinvent. For the good or the bad, because you had Mario Sunshine and
I'm a fan of Sunshine. I know a lot of people love Sunshine. That was not my game.
it was very different. So they're not afraid to take chances with their key franchise. Like I said, for the good or the bad, they do get creative.
They do.
They do.
I would like to see them do some new stuff, right? Like when Splatoon came out, that was like a breath of fresh air, man. Splatoon was awesome. Splatoon still is awesome. That's super popular in Japan. Obviously, Splatoon 3 came out, I
Mm-hmm.
think, about maybe like a year ago or something like that. I would like to see them make new IP, but I know that they have so much investments to make. Like, I'm the same jackass that's going to be like, give me another 2D Metroid. Like, they just gave me one like a year or two ago, but I'm like, give me another one. Like, but we got Metroid Prime coming. I mean, I don't care. Just give me a 2D one. You guys can make this in like a year and a half. Give me a 2D Metroid. But I'm also
They're
the
like,
guys
we,
that make something new.
yeah, they're like, we just gave you Dread.
Dread was so good. Oh my god.
I couldn't finish it. It was too hard. I got to go back to it though. I got frustrated.
But yeah, I think I'll wrap up what I'm saying. They're in a great place. I think they're making money across the board. You know,
Mm-hmm.
they have movies, freaking theme parks. The Switch is the second best selling system of all time. It has its shot at being the number one. It really does. Um, they just announced, I think today or yesterday, the early projections were that the Switch 2 or this, the successor to the Switch would be out the end of this year. No longer
Mm-hmm.
happening. Now that's going to be early 2025. So you have another full year of games being released for the Switch. People's only option is to buy a Switch. It could surpass PlayStation 2. I'm not saying it's going to, but it does have a shot.
I don't mind my Switch. I mean, I don't play it as much as my other two, but I do enjoy Switch. Lately I've been on an itch to play like Luigi's Mansion games, and
Nice.
so I picked up three for the Switch. So The Switch is a really nice system. It is. It's really nice. They did a really good job with it. They have a great library. But one of the downsides, not just with the Switch, but Nintendo as a whole, they closed down a lot of their online shops.
All right, you got me
You
there.
know,
Yep.
they did. They the 3DS and the Wii U eShops, like they shut them down. It's like, why? Why would you do that? Why,
Yeah,
Nintendo?
that was sad. But the sadder one for me was the Wii, because the Wii had that virtual console that had it had so much stuff on there. Like
Mm-hmm.
the virtual console had like really hard to find like TurboGrafx games and stuff. Like just it was awesome, man. They had all sorts of stuff on there.
Yeah, gone.
And
Gone.
Switch Online is a great service. There's a lot of good stuff in there, but they're really just your mainstream hits. If you want something more obscure, for the most part, you're not going to find it on Switch Online.
Nah, probably not. I was surprised though. I saw Sin and Punishment in their
Mm-hmm.
eShop.
Yep.
I was like, what? Because that game was only available for Nintendo 64, and it was only available as an import.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
When I was so happy when I saw it, but that's just one game. There's tons of other Wii U games and, like you said, TurboGrafx games and 3DS games that people love to play, and people were upset when they got word that Nintendo was shutting down those eShops. They were upset, highly upset.
Yeah, I mean, it'd be one thing if all they had to do was make like a digital storefront that would move forward with you in the future. If they're like, hey, we're closing this store down, but if you already purchased it, you can re-download it again on a new storefront over here. Something like that would be, just a permanent storefront. Why do you have to have a new storefront when you release a new console?
Yep.
Why can't you just use your old one? And some people might say, "Oh, technology changes and stuff like that." Like, well, build it and band-aid it each time. Like, that's all you got to do. Like, I'm sure it's harder to do, but it's the right thing to do for the people. Xbox figured out a way to get almost all their games from the original Xbox all the way to today. I'm sure they could figure it out if they felt like it.
Yeah, I agree. I agree.
Um,
And then they're trying to really push their online.
mhm.
With the whole GoldenEye being released online only on the Switch. We're not saying it was great, but it was there.
Sure.
You know, do I think Nintendo can do better and push their online? Is it going to compete with Microsoft or Sony? No, it won't. So they have to do something different.
They do, and I do think that I honestly believe that Switch Online Plus expansion is a very good value for the stuff you get. They have Game Boy Advance games on there. I
Mm-hmm.
think Game Boy and Game Boy Color games are on there. SNES, original Nintendo, N64. Like they have a lot of stuff, but as I mentioned earlier, for the most part, it's all their mainstream stuff that you would expect to be there. It's nothing obscure, which probably makes the most sense to reach the most amount of people. But like I don't know, man. Your eShop now is a damn mess. There's like a billion things in there. You can't find anything. I couldn't even tell you half the stuff that's on there, Wes. Like it's almost as bad as like, Steam or PlayStation. It's horrible.
Is it?
And there's just so much crap. And to sift through it and find something that's good, it's like, oh my god, this is amazing. Like it's impossible. When you go to like the sale section, it's like, oh, 7,555 games are on sale this week. Cool. I'm not going through your 7,000 games to figure out what's on sale and what's worthwhile. Like they have to fit these companies in general, especially Nintendo, have to figure out some way to curate this crap so you can
Mm-hmm.
actually find what it is you're either looking for or to make titles stand out that deserve it. One or the other.
I hear you. And I'm in full agreement.
Or just don't allow half these people have some sort of like review. Like, no, your game's not going on our platform. I'm sorry. It's not happening. Like anyway,
So to answer the question, do you feel Nintendo is in a good place?
I think they're in a great place. But
Okay.
here's my my back and forth kind of with Sony. Nintendo does not traditionally stick to their hardware in any way, shape, or form. And as much as that I want to believe in my mind, because all they have to do is make a new Switch that's backwards compatible with the Switch games, that's more
Hmm.
powerful, and really just keep the same thing going to have a win. I don't think that that's Nintendo or what they usually do. Look at their history, right? The last time that something like that happened was probably like the Super Nintendo compared to the NES. N64 was drastically different.
Hmm. Yeah.
The Wii,
Yeah.
was way different than the GameCube. The N64 and the GameCube, you may say was like an evolution, but they did weird things with the GameCube. Come on, they had these little discs. What the hell was that? Nobody had
Yeah.
those things,
Right.
right? And then people were mad about that. Like, developers were like, I don't want to develop. Like, what are you talking about? Like, just make a regular CD-ROM or whatever they were using at the time.
Mhm.
They always, for the most part, do things differently. So I don't. They could. They have so much goodwill and everything, and they could fumble it all away as soon as they announce their next system. That's all they have to do is be like, here's something none of you wanted. Congratulations. We're calling it some stupid, crappy name that you've never wanted to hear in your life. Or they can just be like, here's another Switch. It's backwards compatible. Same eShop. Or a better version. Online plus expansion still available. You guys can use that. That's Wes, that's literally all. It's the easiest win they could ever have in their existence. And I'm
True.
almost positive they're going to screw something up. Like,
Oh, we'll see. We'll see. But Nintendo will always come out on top. They will, at least initially. We'll see.
we'll have to take a
Even if
look.
they fumble their way through it, they always wind up coming out on top because it's a Nintendo.
Well, people written them off after the Wii U, and then they made the Switch, so you never know what's going to happen. They're
It's true.
they're one console away from getting into the next stratosphere, and they're also one console away from falling into the deepest depths. So you never know with Nintendo.
Well, even with the Wii U, okay, it was not their greatest system, but when they announced the Wii U, everybody was excited.
I think the hardcore were excited. I think the regular consumers had no idea what the hell it was, and they thought it was like something you could add on to your Wii. You know, I remember people coming into the store and like, "Oh, can I get a Wii U?" I'm like, "Sure, it's $250," and they're like, "What?" Like I thought I just like attached something to my Wii. I'm like, "No, that's not how this works." You know, all they would have done themselves a lot of help just not naming that thing Wii U, and they would have
Yeah,
been in a lot better position.
yeah, yeah. I agree. I agree. Yeah, people just didn't know what to do with it. And then you had the tablet, which was a cool feature, but I, I don't know. I think it wasn't well thought out.
No, there was definitely some issues, and if we needed that to get to the Switch, I'm glad that it happened. But the Switch is just such a superior console in every way, shape, and form. It's not even
Yeah.
funny.